Have you ever thought about what drugs can do to a person or what exactly injectable drugs can do to a person? Well, if you have, you're not the only one. Injected drugs is the process of taking a drug and using a needle to inject it into your bloodstream. It is a way for addicts to get their drug faster and get their high faster. Most people don't normally start off injecting. They're usually addicted to another drug, but the high just isn't good enough after so long, so they start injecting, which is much more dangerous. In the world today, 24.6 million Americans are 12 years and older, and 9.4% of those uses injectable drugs. Usually people start off in high school, and this is when parents should be in control and stop this before it gets worse, because once you become an addict, it goes downhill from there, and they either end up overdosing or dying. There are two different types of injectable drugs. They are opioids and stimulants. An opioid is a natural or synthetic drug and acts on the body's opioid receptors, and they all carry similar risk of dependency, addiction, and overdose. If you have ever went to a doctor about something causing you pain, then the pain medication prescribed contain opioids. Almost all pain medication does. Some examples of pain medication is ibuprofen, aspirin, and morphine. Two types of drugs that are opioids is heroin and opium. Now you're probably wondering, what is a stimulant? Stimulants are a class of a psychoactive drug that increases activity in the brain. These drugs can temporarily elevate alertness, mood, and awareness. Some stimulant drugs are legal and widely used, and many stimulants can be addicting. Some example of a stimulant is cocaine and methamphetamine. The major concerns with all injected drugs. When using injected drugs, you have to use a needle, and addicts are too cheap to buy new needles, so they share them. This causes many diseases like HIV. You might wonder, how can you get HIV from sharing a needle? Where during an injection, some blood gets into the needle or syringe. A needle and syringe used by someone with the HIV can still contain blood with the virus on it after the injection. This means that when someone else uses the infected needle, they will inject the disease into their bloodstream, causing them to get it. You can also get HIV from using bottle caps, spoons, or other containers, which they use to create heroin. Another major concern with drugs is overdosing. When using these drugs, it's easier to overdose because the drug is going straight into your bloodline in the beginning. There are many more overdoses than you would think. According to NJS Milloyd, between March 1, 2004 and July 1, 2008, there were 1,004 overdose events. If you calculate and do the math, then you would see that there was 251 overdoses per year. That means that only 100 days out of the year someone wasn't overdosing. This information is from 2004 to 2008, and drugs have been increasing over the years and getting much worse. So, overdosing has probably increased. You might think that firearms and homicides are the leading cause of injury, but actually, according to Megan Ralston, a Drug Policy Alliance member, drug overdose is currently the leading cause injury-related death in the United States for people between ages 35 and 54, and it's also the second leading cause of injury-related death for younger people. Drug overdose is over HIV, suicide, guns, and other things you would think would be the number one death, but it is. The Drug Policy Alliance is working to find something to help drug overdose and stop it. Overall, injectable drugs are increasing in the world today, and people need to realize it is a big deal and it does cause death. People need to take control and teach their children not to do it, and monitor them and make sure they aren't using gateway drugs like weed and other things. Most people believe marijuana doesn't hurt them, and they aren't concerned if their child does it, but what they aren't understanding is it is a gateway drug. You can look it up. It is. And it can lead to them to do harmful injectable drugs, which we all know leads to overdose and death. People on heroin and these drugs today started smoking weed, and their families are wishing they would have stopped them from the beginning. Do you want your child to be mad at you now for controlling their life, or do you want them to be dead in the future?